Long before the internet, before skyscrapers touched the clouds, even before our most familiar ideas took form, there were civilizations that laid the very foundation of our world. They built structures beyond imagination, created systems of law, and gave birth to democracy and philosophy. In this video, we will journey back in time to explore the three great cradles of Western civilization: the majesty of Egypt, the wisdom of Greece, and the might of Rome. Let us begin with the most ancient of them all, on the banks of the Nile. Around 5,000 years ago, the land along the Nile was a realm divided. To the north, the fertile delta formed Lower Egypt. To the south, the long river valley was Upper Egypt. They had their own kings, their own gods, their own symbols, until one man appeared. That was Narmer, king of Upper Egypt, who marched forth to conquer the north. He unified the two lands, becoming the first pharaoh of all Egypt. He wore the Shent, the double crown, a fusion of the white crown of the south and the red crown of the north. This event marked the dawn of the first dynasty, ushering in a glorious era that would last for nearly 3,000 years. 500 years after unification, around 2600 BCE, the pharaohs had achieved absolute power and were seen as living gods on earth. To manifest their authority and ensure their eternal life in the hereafter, they began to construct magnificent tombs. Pharaoh Cheops, also known as Khufu of the 4th dynasty, commanded the construction of such a tomb at Giza. This colossal undertaking mobilized tens of thousands of laborers and took approximately 20 years to complete. It was built from over 2.3 million blocks of limestone, each weighing an average of 2.5 tons. For 3,800 years, it stood as the tallest man-made structure in the world. Its purpose was not merely to be a tomb, but to serve as an eternal symbol of the pharaoh's power and the endurance of his reign. More than 1,000 years passed. Egypt's age of the Great Pyramids was over. The pharaohs were now laid to rest in hidden tombs deep in the Valley of the Kings. Among them was a young king who ascended the throne as a boy and died before the age of 20. In life, he was not a great pharaoh, but destiny would make him the most famous ruler of the modern world. Tutankhamun came to power after the religious turmoil of his father Akhenaten, who had attempted to replace all of Egypt's gods with a single deity, the Aten. His primary mission was to restore the traditional beliefs. He died suddenly while still a young man. His fame comes from the discovery of his tomb in 1922 by archaeologist Howard Carter. It was found almost perfectly intact, containing over 5,000 artifacts, including the legendary solid gold mask. It is the only intact royal tomb of a pharaoh ever to be discovered. If Tutankhamun became famous in death, there was one pharaoh who was a legend in his own lifetime. He reigned for 66 years, lived to be over 90, fathered more than 100 children, and raised monuments across the length of Egypt. He was Ramesses II, Ramesses the Great. Ramesses II launched military campaigns to reassert Egyptian influence in the Near East. The most famous of these was the Battle of Kadesh against the Hittite Empire. Both sides claimed victory, but the result was a stalemate. It led to the first recorded peace treaty in history between two great empires. He was also a builder of unparalleled ambition, constructing or expanding countless temples. The most magnificent is the temple complex of Abu Simbel, fronted by 4 colossal statues of the pharaoh himself seated on his throne. His reign is considered the final glorious peak of the Egyptian New Kingdom. While the civilization of Egypt was growing ancient, a new one was rising across the northern Mediterranean. These were the Greeks, a collection of independent city-states locked in frequent conflict. Yet every 4 years they would lay down their arms to unite in celebration of the gods and of the human form. The first recorded Olympic Games were held at Olympia in honor of the god Zeus. Athletes from every corner of the Greek world gathered to compete in events such as running, wrestling, the discus, and the javelin. During the games, an Olympic truce was declared, guaranteeing safe passage for all athletes and spectators. The victor's prize was not money, but a simple olive wreath, the ultimate symbol of glory. Around 700 BCE, the lands of Greece had grown infertile, unable to sustain a rising population, so the Greeks did what they did best. They took to the seas. They were not seeking to build an empire, but to find new homes. The Greek city-states began a great age of colonization. They founded new cities, polis, along the shores of the Mediterranean and the Black Sea. From modern-day Spain and France to southern Italy and North Africa, these colonies were politically independent, yet they maintained strong cultural, religious, and commercial ties with their mother city. This expansion spread Greek culture, language, and thought across the ancient world. In the year 507 BCE, within Athens, one of the most powerful city-states, a political revolution took place. It gave birth to an idea that would change the world, that the people themselves should hold the power to rule. The reformer Cleisthenes introduced profound changes, establishing democratia, the rule of the people. Every adult male citizen of Athens had the right to participate in the assembly, to vote directly on laws, and to decide matters of war and peace. Officials were chosen by election or by the drawing of lots, creating an opportunity for even the poorest citizens to participate in government. This was a form of direct democracy, the foundation for later democratic ideals, though it still excluded women, slaves, and foreigners. After repelling the invasion of the mighty Persian Empire, Athens entered its classical age, a golden era of art, architecture, philosophy, and drama. And from the north of Greece, a military genius would arise to inherit this culture and spread it to the ends of the known world. In 480 BCE, Athens became the cultural heart of Greece. It was the time of the great philosophers, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Under the leadership of Pericles, the Athenians built the Parthenon atop the Acropolis in 447 BCE, a temple dedicated to the goddess Athena. The structure was the pinnacle of Greek architecture, a symbol of Athens' wealth, power, and democratic ideals. In 332 BCE, Alexander, king of Macedon, having united Greece, began his conquest of the Persian Empire. He marched into Egypt, where he was welcomed as a liberator from Persian rule. The Egyptian priests declared him the son of the god Zeus Amun, legitimizing his role as pharaoh. He founded the city of Alexandria, which would become a great center of culture and learning for the entire world. In little more than a decade, Alexander had conquered an empire stretching from Greece to India. But he died suddenly in Babylon at the age of 32 in the year 323 BCE.
His death plunged the empire into immediate chaos. His generals, the Diadochi, fought for power, carving the empire into smaller kingdoms, such as the Ptolemaic kingdom in Egypt and the Seleucid Empire in Persia. Though the empire disintegrated, his conquests ushered in the Hellenistic Age, an era where Greek culture and ideas spread and blended with the cultures of the East.
Let us turn back the clock to 753 BCE, at the very time the Greeks were holding their Olympics and caking to the seas. Another story was unfolding on the Italian peninsula. A tale of twin brothers and a she-wolf. They were Romulus and Remus, twin sons of Mars, the god of war. Abandoned and cast adrift on the Tiber River, they were saved and suckled by a she-wolf who found them on the riverbank. When they came to age, they resolved to found a new city, but in a dispute over its location, Romulus struck down Remus and became the first king, naming the city after himself, Rome. Though it is a legend, this story embodies the spirit of the Romans, a people of divine origin, iron will, and at times brutal ambition. In the year 509 BCE, the last king of Rome, Tarquinius Superbus, was a tyrant. An outrageous act committed by his son drove the people, led by Lucius Junius Brutus, to rise up and overthrow the monarchy. Instead of choosing a new king, the Romans forged a new system, the res publica, the republic, meaning a public affair. Power was entrusted to 2 annually elected consuls and to the Senate, an assembly of patricians. This was designed to ensure that no single man could ever again wield absolute power. Through iron discipline and ruthlessly effective legions, Rome gradually conquered and unified the entire Italian peninsula under its rule by 265 BCE. After conquering Gaul and emerging victorious from a brutal civil war, Julius Caesar became the most powerful man in Rome and was named dictator for life. Fearing he would declare himself king and destroy the republic, a group of senators conspired to assassinate him in the Senate House itself in 44 BCE. Caesar's death did not save the republic. Instead, it plunged Rome into a new series of civil wars. The final victor to emerge was Octavian, Caesar's grandnephew and heir. He shrewdly refused the title of king. Instead, the Senate bestowed upon him the titles Augustus, the revered one, and Princeps, the first citizen. In name, the republic endured, but in reality, Augustus held all power, becoming the first Roman emperor and ushering in the era of the empire and the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. After nearly 500 years of existence, the Roman Empire had grown too vast to govern. It was divided into the Western and Eastern Roman empires. The West was relentlessly attacked and plundered by Germanic tribes. In 476, the last Western Roman emperor, the ironically named Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by a Germanic chieftain. This event is widely considered to mark the end of the Western Roman Empire and the close of antiquity. Rome had fallen, Greece had been conquered, and the pharaohs were but mummies in their tombs. But their legacy was immortal. The Egyptians bequeathed us wonders of architecture and the first stirrings of medicine and astronomy. The Greeks gave us philosophy, democracy, drama, and science. The Romans left behind law, engineering, the Latin language, and the model for governing an empire.
And in our next video, we will enter the Middle Ages, an era of knights and castles, of faith and of great wars. Our journey will begin at the very end of the Roman Empire in the 5th century and will span 1,000 years until the first ships crossed the ocean to find the New World in the 15th century. If you enjoyed this video and want to join us on the next stage of our historical journey, don't forget to like, share, and especially subscribe to the channel. It's completely free, but it gives us tremendous motivation to continue making higher quality videos. Thank you for watching until the very end. See you in the video on the Middle Ages.